The National Parks Conservation Association was established in 1919, just 3 years after the National Park Service, by two men who believed that the national parks needed an independent voice outside of the political system to ensure their protection. Robert Sterling Yard, an outspoken journalist, and business tycoon Stephen Mather, the first director of the Park Service, joined forces to establish NPCA. We've grown to more than 800,000 members and supporters, more than 150 staff in Washington, D.C., and 24 offices around the country that address the threats and challenges facing our national parks. Our vision is a nation unified in its commitment to preserve and honor its natural, historic, and diverse cultural heritage through a superlative national park system. To accomplish this vision, NPCA has adopted an ambitious plan to protect national parks and their surrounding landscapes, including the air and water they depend on, to fund parks sustainably by securing adequate funding for the National Park Service and identifying new funding strategies and revenue streams to augment the continuing decline in federal appropriations. And finally, to cultivate and mobilize advocates and political leaders to help expand, conserve, and support the national parks. National parks are America's treasures, and damage to them strikes deep in the public conscience. Our national parks are unique leverage points for informing and rallying Americans and local communities around important issues such as clean air, clean water, and historic preservation. NPCA specializes in policy and coalition building to address park challenges both nationally and locally. From Washington, D.C., our policy experts have the proven ability to work with members of both parties in Congress and to advocate for new parks, adequate funding for the National Park Service, and the protection of parks' natural and cultural resources. From our 24 offices around the country, the breadth and diversity of key partnerships with local communities result in big gains for our national parks. NPCA establishes benchmarks for each of our strategic priorities to track our progress against our goals. Each strategic priority has a cross-departmental team responsible for drafting work plans that include clear goals and outcomes. Team chairs meet periodically with NPCA's leadership to track progress and to make course corrections as necessary. NPCA is the only independent, citizen-supported, nonpartisan group devoted solely to protecting the health and advancing the welfare of America's national park system. We advocate on behalf of national parks, one of the few conservation issues that enjoys bipartisan support. For nearly 100 years, NPCA has been advocating on behalf of our parks. Our staff possess an unsurpassed depth of knowledge and uncommon coalition-building skills. In addition, our dedicated volunteer leaders who serve on our board of trustees and our councils, and more than 800,000 NPCA members and supporters are partners in our work. We have responded quickly and effectively to numerous park threats and have seized opportunities to connect Americans to our most special places. NPCA guarded parks against air pollution from coal-fired power plants, and after 2 decades of constant vigilance and strategic action, we participated in an historic air quality settlement agreement with the Tennessee Valley Authority that will, by the year 2020, produce the largest cleanup and retirement of dirty coal-fired power plants in U.S. history. Other advocacy led to bridging a section of the Tamiami Trail, an east-west highway which bisects and dams up the Everglades. By partially elevating this road, abundant colonies of birds and healthy wildlife populations that once flourished in the Everglades can begin to recover. Complex threats face our national parks as rapid climate change, our nation's growing population, inadequate funding for ongoing park maintenance and repair, encroaching development, and pressures for exploitation of natural resources all take their toll. Given the breadth and depth of these threats, NPCA's agenda could be nearly infinite. However, we've learned over the years that we are most impactful when we focus our resources on a limited number of outcomes. We also have learned that as unforeseen challenges and opportunities emerge, we need to occasionally redirect resources to meet the situation. NPCA would use additional resources to advance our 3 long-term goals. Some actions include finding innovative ways outside of government to supplement increasingly scarce dollars for a vibrant, well-managed park system, advocating for new or expanded park sites that tell the American story and that reflect the broad range of our nation's diversity, advancing projects and legislation that increase the health of iconic wildlife, improve air quality, and preserve and protect and restore waters in and around national parks, such as the Great Lakes and Everglades. We hope to weave national parks into the fabric of our cities. With additional resources, we can bolster urban parks and make sure they reflect urban interest and values. We can engage more city dwellers with park system programs. With 85% of Americans living in urban areas by 2030, urban parks will soon provide most of the population with its first or only national park experience. As meeting grounds for people of different backgrounds, urban parks must honor the intersections of race, class, age, physical ability, and gender.